It was a quiet day in my house. I was enjoying my breakfast looking out the window until I hear a knock at the door. That must be my new client, I thought. He said today he'd come over to discuss something. Sure enough, it was him, and he held some papers in his hand.
You need to check this out, Eudokimos. Trust me, it's real.
You want me to investigate Aeschylus? But he's the city's most honest and benevolent person. He even helped me finance that new street outside my house. Finally fixed those dang potholes that trip out my horse.
Yeah, he helps with the city's finances. But this is real. Let me set the scene. Did you hear about the recent bandit raids that were happening up north?
Yeah, I heard. Why?
Yeah, my property was one of those hit. I wasn't able to defend myself due to a recent leg injury. So they ransacked the place. They even stole my farming tools. Anyways, I went to Aeschylus' shop the next day to buy some food. When I got there, he greeted me and asked for what I was looking for. I told him about the recent raids and how I needed new tools, but I was here to get some food. After hearing that, he told me not to worry and that he'd come by to see if he could help pay for some of the damages. I thanked him, and later he did come over to assess the damages. While looking for food, however, something caught my eye. A farming hoe that looked suspiciously similar to the one I used. Even had the same crack on the handle. I didn't say anything at first, but it's been bugging me since. That's why I contacted you. You're the best at investigating these types of things.
Okay, that does sound a little odd, but I'm gonna need to see this myself. Let's go to the store and check it out. My client and I came to Aeschylus' shop and he showed me the hoe that he was talking about. The amount of details he was able to point out was suspiciously convincing. I later asked Aeschylus if he knew where the tool came from, but he said that he got it from somewhere else, so he didn't know where it came from. That's what piqued my interest. Aeschylus prides himself in being able to tell you where his products came from. It's his honest nature, as he put it. But the fact that he was unable to tell me where the tool came from was indeed suspicious. At least he gave me some discount on buying the tool. When we left, I agreed to investigate Aeschylus further. I later came back to the store when he wasn't around, and I started looking for the rest of my client's tools. Unfortunately, I didn't find them, but I did notice that there were boxes of tools labeled from Levadia, Chaeronia, Shady, and Antikyra. This was peculiar. Aeschylus states that the tools that he sells were either from himself or from local toolsmiths, so seeing boxes from other towns was indeed odd. I decided to take note of these places and head there myself. After a night's ride, I arrived at my first destination, Antikyra. Apparently, from what I heard from the locals, a couple of farm estates were raided at the night by some gang of bandits. That was the first place I went to. Upon arriving at the raided farming estate, I spoke with its owner, Linus. He was hesitant to talk to anyone due to what happened, but when I told him that I was investigating the raid on his farm, he opened up. Linus was an old but wealthy fellow with a large farm. He said he would usually have someone look over the farm at night, but during the night of the raid, his usual guard was unable to show up. Thus, the bandits took the opportunity and pounced. Linus said that things that were stolen were usual, valuables and money. But what piqued my curiosity was that Linus said they seemed particularly interested in stealing his produce and farming tools, the same items that the bandits stole from my client. On my way out of Linus's estate, Linus told me that he wasn't the only one that had been raided. A farming estate in Shady was also raided by bandits. Shady was also one of the towns that Aeschylus had labeled, so maybe something similar happened there. I thanked Linus and left for Shady. Shady, Chaeronia, and Levadia were no different from Linus's estate. Multiple farming estates from those towns were also hit by a bandit raid. All of them were old farm owners that had a decent amount of wealth, yet they all shared one common thing. The bandits were unusually interested in produce and farming tools. Why were these bandits so fixated on produce and farming tools? And is Aeschylus connected? I needed to find out. I knew that the answers laid inside Aeschylus' property. So under the cover of the night, I snuck into his estate. While following Aeschylus around in his property, I noticed that he went into a small building in the fields with several other men. Getting closer revealed the conversation that they were having, a target that they were going to strike tonight, and how they were ever going to do it. I couldn't believe my suspicions were correct. Aeschylus were connected to the bandit raids, and after they left the building, I went inside to see what evidence I could gather. On the table in the middle was a map of the place that they were going to raid, another farming estate. Underneath was another map. This one had marks over several towns, including the 4 towns I had visited. So it's confirmed. Aeschylus was raiding wealthy farming estates and selling the spoils in the shop. The only question left is, where were these items being taken to? Seeing that the bandits left to raid the target left on the first map, I headed there to see if I can catch them in the act. As I arrived at the target's place, it seemed that I was too late. The place had already been raided. However, I realized that there were fresh horse marks on the ground. They couldn't have gone far. Following these tracks led me to a building in the forest. Inside, there was a bunch of boxes stacked upon each other. But most importantly, inside these boxes were the stolen items of the most recent raid. Valuables, produce, and farming tools. And with that, we reach today, Your Honor. I have brought a couple of these boxes from that building. I took them as evidence for my case against Aeschylus. Although he may question my methods of obtaining these and in the way I investigated my case, nonetheless, it was in the effort of unraveling Aeschylus' schemes. I would also like to bring out the 4 people that I have talked to during my investigations. Now, please take a look inside these boxes to see if anything belongs to any of you.
Hey, that's my gold jewelry. My grandfather passed it to me.
And these are my tools. I marked them with a band of red since I lent them out often.
Same here, but mine are blue.
And these were my father's before he left for war.
Alright, I think I've seen enough. I know what my decision is, and I think I know what the jury's is. What do you guys think?
Yes. In the case of whether or not Aeschylus should be considered an honourable person, we, the jury, find Aeschylus, despite his charitable donations to our town, is a shameful person.
Yep, that's what I thought so too. Aeschylus, I am truly disappointed in you. Many of us here thought that you were a noble and kind person, but that was all for show, wasn't it? These streets will never be the same now that we know that they've been funded with stolen loot.
Thus it shall be declared that you are a shameful person.
What? Lies, I say! Lies!